right, it is a Monday. That means this is a 100% completely unlocked and free Section 1904 show. Welcome in, everybody. I'm Darren Smith. He's John Gennaro. We're with you here for some period of time. Better late than never, I suppose. I will raise my hand. I will take the blame. This podcast is getting out later than it normally does, any day of the week. So that's on me. So thank you to John for your patience. Appreciate it. But this podcast, 100% free. It is also 100% listener supported. So we would appreciate if you listen to this today on Monday, and we do see some of these numbers. We know that people are checking in on Mondays. We would love for you to be part of this. I've been going through some expenses, John. I can tell you can pay all sorts of money for things, but for $5 a month to get 5 podcasts a week, the front row seat delivered to your inbox every single day, other stuff that we have in the works, access to the Discord channel, I can say categorically that this is a really good deal. For as low as $5 a month, you can subscribe and support this podcast. It gets delivered to you each and every day. You can listen whenever you want. John and I are talking about a lot of things, and like I said, I'm doing a little bit of accounting, and I can tell you for $5, this is a really good deal.
Yeah, I had to laugh the other day. The Emo Brown podcast episode I was on came out, and I didn't listen to all of it, but I just listened back for the first 15, 20 minutes. And at one point, Steve Garcia mentioned something being $20. And then he just paused. And he goes, "Man, what happened to $20?" And then it turned into this conversation like, "Remember $20 when we were growing? It meant something. $20 meant something. Now you can't get anything for $20." And I was thinking about that yesterday, and I was like, "Yeah, what did happen to $20?" And you can subscribe for just $5. Get all this stuff delivered straight to you for just $5 a month. Seems like a steal of a deal. At some point, maybe we'll have to raise a price or two around here, but not yet. Still $5 a month. Jump in while you can.
That's it. It's a good deal right out of the gate. I do want to say thanks again because a lot of people have reached out. Obviously, me still putting it together after my father passed away last week. But I was referencing John, and I do mean that. Thank you very much. I don't want to just gloss over that. People have sent really nice messages on social media, on email, and they're all greatly appreciated. I've tried to get back to as many people as possible. I think I probably did a decent enough job at that. But it's impossible to get back to everybody. Can I just, I don't want to, bring this up every day, but I do want to ask you, cause my dad was from a generation where people say, well, are you going to have an obituary in an actual newspaper? Yeah. Right? What would your guess be? Now I'm guessing, part of this is influenced by how many words you use in an obituary, but what would your guess be for an obituary in a newspaper in 2025?
Oh, I feel like I'm going to be way off, but I have to imagine that there are people who are, below the poverty line who have to put obituaries in the newspaper. So I'm going to go low and say $30.
Wow. I wish I would buy 1,000 of them.
What happened to $30, Darren?
What happened to $30? My dad grew up in New York, and so my mother suggested that we put an obituary in the newspaper in New York, even though he hasn't lived there in over 20 years.
Yeah.
And so there's this website that you go to, and it'll give you an online obituary, and it will say, well, what newspaper would you like this in? It's called the Journal News of Westchester County. And again, maybe this is by the word. I don't know. I'm looking at it right now. It's 4 paragraphs and a couple of lyrics from a song that he really liked. And they quoted me. Are you ready? You're sitting down.
I am sitting down, thankfully.
For one day. $1,500.
Oh, Jesus.
Yes. Now, I don't want to sound like a total cheapskate here, or that this is just some sort of transaction for me, because whatever, right? If this is the right thing to do, then this is the right thing to do.
No, but I know what you're about to
say.
But
is this the right thing to do?
No, but this goes back to the what would Barry Smith want? Would he want you to spend $1,500 on that, or would he want you to spend $1,500 on something that you could enjoy?
Right. And then I said, well, okay, so maybe there's a newspaper in Florida. So I asked my cousin, and he said there's this local newspaper down there. So whatever it was, I was like, all right, well, let me see. Maybe Westchester County, New York, maybe they jack up the prices. What do I know? So I then put in for the newspaper where he was living. And it was $850 for one day in a newspaper. And I'm like, well, what do you do? Like, what are you supposed to do in this situation? I don't know the answer to this. No final decision has been made, but you can go to a website called legacy.com and you can do an online obituary and you can add a picture and there's no real limit on characters and all that stuff. And even that's $150, but at least people can share it and send it around on text messages and email and such. But like even that is like, so anyhow, I guess the point I'm trying to make is $5 a month for this podcast is a pretty good deal.
Roundabout way of getting there, but you landed the plane, Darren.
Right. I mean, even $150 just for a link, right? Like you can probably go to GoDaddy.com and just create a website and do it for $10 or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, this stuff, I won't even go into some of the other details about services and all the other kind of thing. People have been through this, so people know this. People know what it costs to do all this sort of stuff, and it's it's an industry. It is definitely an industry, but I guess I don't know. Like, are people going to think less of me if I don't put this in a newspaper? I mean, not that I give a shit, but I mean, are you going to think less of me if I don't go to a newspaper and spend $1,500 for one day for an obituary for one day?
Darren, I don't subscribe to any newspapers. I definitely don't subscribe in Westchester, Pennsylvania, or Westchester.
Is this why they're dying? Like, is this the problem?
It probably is a big reason why they're dying. I will say, just on a similar note, my mom last week sent me a package that had like power of attorney, all her financial records, listing me as the beneficiary of all of them, which, by the way, I'm the third child. That should be the oldest child who has to take care of that. But all of that has been given to me, which is also how I found out that my mom's cancer is getting a lot worse. I was like, oh, this is good. I was like, I'm watching Darren go through this. It's good I have all this. I was like, wait, why did you send this to me? It's like, oh, she's starting to think about, what's going to happen. But no, it's given me a chance to ask her questions like this. And now I'm going to call her today and be like, do you want an obituary? Because it might be expensive.
It's funny because my aunt said the same thing. I said, hey, listen, I don't want to come across as cheap here, but, what do you think? Is this something that we should do? And she's like, your father would like wake up from his deathbed and slap you in the face if you spent this money on these obituaries. I was like, all right, good. At least I have you in my corner, because there are other people who are like, hey, where's that obituary? We're looking for it. And I'm like, yeah, okay, well, stand by. There's a link coming at some point. All right. So again, thank you very much, everybody. Appreciate it. And, I feel like it's taken a little bit of a toll on me, which is why I'm sounding the way I sound. I slept way more last night than I had in previous nights. Anyhow, it's a Monday. It's a weekend recap. Let's start with the Padres, who took 2 out of 3. Can we also, is it premature, John? Is this going to backfire if we start saying good things about Xander Bogaerts? Or should we say good things about Xander Bogaerts? Because I know it's just been a month, but when you look at his last month, he's slashing 324, 412, 473, so the slugging isn't there. 885 OPS, and I understand a month isn't a season, and he was really terrible to start the year. I don't think you and I ever got hyperbolic to the point where we were like, hey, maybe they should eat the contract. I don't think we ever got to that point. Others obviously voiced that opinion. I don't think that's what we did here on Section 1904. I don't think so. Correct me if I'm wrong. But all we hoped for from Xander Bogaerts wasn't that he would turn into an all-star caliber player, but that he might return to being a useful player. Yeah. And I think he's become a useful player. And Slam Diego over the weekend against the Washington Nationals, the last time they hit a grand slam, I want to say, was last year against the Nationals. They hit 2 this past weekend, took 2 out of 3, and they're on to Miami. So I thought a pretty positive start to the second half of the Padres.
You skipped the most important part. I'm going to get back to Xander Bogaerts, but the Padres won the trade, Darren, because
yeah, of course. Now we can say that.
Xander Bogaerts, not only did he hit a grand slam this weekend, he hit a grand slam off Mackenzie Gore. Shows you how much that guy's worth. And we got a whole year and a half of Juan Soto for him and other things. Look, I don't need to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. The Padres have played 99 games. They play their 100th game of the season tonight, which means there's 63 games left in the year for them. I'm calling playoffs, Darren. It's time. Like they're 3.5 games behind the Dodgers, who are just terrible The Dodgers have won 2 of their last 10 games. They can't win. And the Padres have been in a wild card spot, I think, the whole season, like since basically the beginning of the year. It's hard not to see this team going to the playoffs. And, the more we're coming up on a trade deadline, and Xander Bogaerts is playing better. He's hitting better. Luis Arraez is hitting better. Jackson Merrill has found some rhythm. Fernando Tatis looks like he's got a little pop left. Manny keeps playing well. Cronenworth is actually sneaky, having a pretty good couple months here. They honest to God feel like they're a player or two away, assuming that Dylan Cease figured something out, because he looked really good against the Nationals on Friday. Yu Darvish looked pretty good against the Nationals on Saturday. Not great, but considering that's his second start in like a year, he looked pretty good. If Michael King comes back and he looks good and the bullpen stays healthy and everyone stays healthy, I don't really see any way this team doesn't make it into the playoffs. And I'm kind of excited for them. I'm starting to look at this pitching staff and this bullpen and go like, they're going to be hard to beat in a playoff series as long as they can go 6 or 7 or 8 good hitters deep in their lineup, which, again, they're a player or two away from doing that. But Xander Bogaerts being good, not being a total zero, is very, very helpful in that regard.
53% according to Fangraphs, 57% according to baseballreference.com. Playoff odds. That's what I'm talking about. Playoff odds here. But, again, these are snapshots in time. I don't know exactly how these things are calculated. If it's looking ahead, we'll get to the part, like John said, game 100 against the Marlins. I think we're going to get to the point where we're going to start looking at the remaining games and the strength of schedule, all that sort of stuff.
Magic numbers.
Yeah, and through yeah, maybe. But we'll see through Marlins and then through Cardinals and then back home against Arizona. It does feel like Arizona's starting to fade a little bit. I think that's a good thing. I think the thing about the Diamondbacks now is forcing them into a decision before the trade deadline.
I think they're going to sell.
Yeah, I think that's a good thing. I was watching a little bit of the Diamondbacks yesterday, and that sort of feels like that's where this is headed. They're 50 and 50. We know they went on this amazing run a couple years ago. 83 wins, got into the playoffs, went to the World Series. Not a good team, not a good regular season team, just a little bit above average. But it feels like with some of those contracts, John, it feels like the Diamondbacks might be forced into a decision where they're going to sell, which is good. So at least that chops off one more team from competition in terms of wild card and division standings, because then they raise the white flag. And, it just looks a lot different facing the Diamondbacks than if they were, let's call it 5 or 6 games over 500. So I think that's a good thing. The trade deadline comes around here pretty quickly. I still think, you and I have been talking about hitting. I seem to think they're eyeing a starting pitcher. So, from that standpoint, I think reinforcements are on the way. We'll talk about reinforcements with SDFC. But, they've done enough. I mean, I think they've done enough for me to feel like they should invest in it. It's been a theme for us because it's what AJ Preller said recently, which is our team will tell us, what direction we should take at the trade deadline. And assuming the funds are there, I definitely think that this is a team that's going to add. I don't see how you could see it otherwise.
Yeah, the funds. I wanted to bring that up because I read in Kevin Acey's Padres Daily, I don't remember if it was yesterday or today or whatever, that the Padres are trying to make moves that would add talent to the roster, but also send money out the door because they're worried about how much they're already paying in CBT taxes. And that's got me a little concerned. That also feels a little bit like bargaining. If the Luis Robert conversations are true, I think there's always been a part of that negotiation of how much money you're going to send with him. And if the Padres are going like, hey, we can't take on additional money. You gotta make sure we get him for almost free. That's probably all that is, but that concerned me. Anytime that there's like, you get to the trade deadline, everyone agrees they're a player or two away, and you're talking about taxes and money and not winning and putting the best team on the field. Makes me a little bit concerned, but can I throw a really, really weird, odd stat at you?
Yeah.
I'm going to give you 2 records. One of which is 31-31. That is the Padres' record, 500 team, when they play at night. Their record on day games, if you're very quick with math, you can figure out, is 23-14. They're 9 games above 500 when they play in the afternoon. What do you make of it? Do they need to adjust sleep schedules, or is the team too old? Like, What would lead to that outside of just small sample size?
Well, it's a new era, isn't it? I mean, when you're that good during the day, it means these guys aren't going out and partying at night.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, right? That used to be the thing with the Cubs, because the Cubs played all those day games, and they tried everything. You know, they tried everything in the world, because everybody knew the nightlife in Chicago was so good that you would just go out and party. But it tells me these guys are getting good sleep, John, and it's just a different era. The game is gone. It's not what it used to be. You know, these guys aren't running the streets any longer. They're all just going home. Kind of boring. I don't know. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know that there's anything to make of that because it's one variable, but the other variable would be where you play. You know, I started thinking at nighttime, Petco Park, heavier air, maybe a little less, a little less opportunity for the ball to fly. But 31-31 is their overall record. So that means it's probably half at Petco Park and half away from Petco Park. So I don't know that would apply. So I don't know what to make of that. Maybe it's just an oddity. But I would say these guys are probably getting a good night's sleep, other than Michael King.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause
good mattresses. Yeah.
Well, he's probably sleeping great now. He probably sleeps on a giant bed of pillows now.
23-14 during day games, huh?
23-14 during day games and 500 for night games. And
what do you make of that?
I don't know. Like every team, when you can break down day night, like almost every team, it pretty much mirrors. Like they're just about as good on day games than they are as night games. Like that's a pretty drastic difference. And I don't know. I don't know if that's Xander Bogaerts' body doesn't feel good. At 9 o'clock at night, Manny Machado's body doesn't feel good at 9 o'clock at night because it's got miles on it or whatever. I do like your theory that at least at home. Petco, the ball flies more during the day, but I don't know. I don't know what to do with that at all. I just noticed it this morning, and I was like, that feels like something to keep an eye
on. You mentioned Luis Robert.
Yeah.
Are there rumors out there that he's going to get moved? I think the thing that I heard somewhere along the way is that the White Sox definitely are viewing any potential trade of Luis Robert as a financial decision. They're not looking for prospects. They want somebody to take the contract.
See, that feels like negotiation to me, like public negotiation to me.
Yeah. I hate the word sources because I'm not trying to be Jeff Passan here, but I did hear that's a priority for them. They're not looking necessarily for a quality return, so I don't think it would cost you prospect capital as much as it would cost you. You're just going to have to take the money. And can the Padres take that money? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
Not according to AC.
Yeah, according to Kevin. But, Kevin's wrong about that. Kevin's been wrong about that before because Peter Seidler has blown past conventional wisdom in the past, right? Because Kevin talks to the bean counters and Kevin gets information from them. And those guys are like, yeah, this doesn't make financial sense. And then Peter Seidler's like, yeah, fuck that. Yeah. We're going to do it anyway. So, Kevin's been, and I'm not knocking Kevin here. Like, we've brought this up.
Yeah.
Like, I brought this up to Kevin. One year, he said that the Padres had $10 million to spend in the offseason. And they went and signed Xander Bogaerts. So, they had a little bit more money to spend. So, things change. What Kevin could be told is absolutely what he's told. But, things can change. I think the other thing, too, and this is me now just sort of diluting the conversation because you and I talked a little bit about the future of baseball and what's coming around the corner when it comes to the Players Association and when it comes to a work stoppage. I also think some of these teams, it's going to be interesting to see how some of these teams, there's like real chatter out there, John, that there's going to be a salary cap in this sport. Like that this is the time where it's going to happen. Now, I'll believe that when I see it, but there are people who are convinced that there is going to be a salary cap in the sport. So, what's going to happen to teams that are already spending like the Dodgers do, or even like the Padres do? The Padres are in the luxury tax, right? So, some teams are perhaps starting to think, listen, you're not going to be forced to sell off if you're going to be over some salary cap. Let's call it, I don't know, $220 million or whatever.
Yeah.
You're not going to be forced to sell your pieces off. You'll be grandfathered in. So some teams are starting to act that way. So just a little quick aside on that for how teams are going to be doing business now, especially the big market teams that spend a lot of money, that they're going to start preparing for what's coming in terms of the possibility. Again, I'll believe it when I see it, but some people absolutely believe that this is the time that there's going to be a salary cap in the sport. And if so, some teams might be loading up. Is that something the Padres should consider? I don't know. I don't know enough about John Seidler to know whether he's like Peter or whether he's going to be much more fiscally responsible in line with some of the other owners in the sport. I don't have an answer to that. But I know if Peter were here, he'd probably be loading up on all these big contracts just in case there is a salary cap, so he can say, like, well, that's for us in the next couple of years. But for now, we're going to stockpile a bunch of these players. So it's an interesting thing just to pay attention to over the next year and a half before the labor stoppage.
Yeah, and then as far as the trade deadline goes, and then we can move on to soccer, because I'm very excited to talk about this soccer game with you. It's very easy as a people who watch the Padres on an almost nightly basis for me to be like, Padres are a player or two away from the playoffs, and look how bad the Dodgers have been, and blah, blah, blah. The other teams are probably going to add too. Like, that's the thing. You're not just adding to make your team better. You're adding to keep up with all the other teams that are going to add. Like, the Dodgers are 2-8 in their last 10 games. They're probably going to add someone at the deadline. The Giants are nipping at the Padres' heels. They're probably going to add someone at the trade deadline. So, like, part of the reason you do it is because the Padres are a player or two away from seemingly having a complete good team. But the other reason is, like, if you stay here and all the other teams add the Luis Roberts and the Jaron Durans and whatever, then you fall behind in that arms race to get into the playoffs. That's just a thing to have in your head. Padres Twitter and Padres Blue Sky, as you guys are talking about, the trade deadline, is sometimes you have to buy just to stay in the conversation.
Yeah, and you have to send a message as well, right? Like, you gotta tell the guys in the clubhouse, hey, like, we appreciate what you guys have done to get to this point where, what are they, 54 and 45?
Yeah.
You think the Giants are, I don't know how much the Giants can still continue to add. I mean, they made the splash already for Devers.
That's true.
So I could see them doing something, but I think the Dodgers are the one, you're already starting to see it projected out there on social media that, they're going to be out there. They're going to be big players again. You're like, oh, okay. All right. Of course, what else is new? But, I still think a bat, and I think we heard from A.J. Preller himself, who said a couple of bats, and I still think a starting pitcher's out there. I don't know. I'm just not as convinced on Darvish. I love Darvish. I would love to be convinced, but I'm not convinced.
I was very thrown off by, I forget where he wrote it, but I'm sure it was AC, where he wrote, like, look, Martin Maldonado's not going anywhere. He was like, they love him. Any thoughts that he was going to give up playing time to Luis Campusano? Nope, not happening. They love what he's done with the young pitchers. They all the pitchers love throwing to him. Schilt loves having him out there, even though he has to pinch hit for him in the sixth inning every game. He's like, Martin Maldonado's just not going anywhere. That's a bit of a bummer. And I do think we're heading towards a trade deadline where they don't trade for a catcher. And they're just like, yeah, we like our catcher situation. It's like, I don't know, man. Like, they're, the 200 batting average line has forever been like a mark of, you're not a good enough hitter to be in the majors, and both of these guys are under 200. Like, it's not great, but moving along.
It is not great, but I think you would gloss over it if the pitching staff continues to perform and you get enough offense from the other guys. So, Xander Bogaerts can make those catchers, you can make you feel a little bit better about the catcher's offense.
That's right? True. Yeah.
So when is the deadline, by the way? Is it the 31st?
I think it's the 31st. I'll look it up, but I think it's the 31st.
Yeah, so we got about 10 days here. So, I don't know that everything's going to wait until the last second. But, I would think, a bat, an arm, that's kind of what's floating out there in the ether.
July 31 at 6 p.m. Eastern.
All right. Yeah. Well, we're going to have a lot to talk about between trade deadlines, Padres, transfer windows opening up in soccer. Right? Like reinforcements on the way. Boy, if there's a team in town that needs some reinforcements, it is SDFC, man. Like, how they picked up a point against Vancouver, I have no idea. Are we ready? Do you have any other Padres thoughts? Marlins again tonight, next 3 days, and then St. Louis, and then back home against the Diamondbacks. So, by then I think maybe the Diamondbacks will be in complete retreat mode, so that'll be a good thing
No,
them.
I'm done with baseball. I'm done with Padres. Darren, do you have a fire extinguisher near you? Because I have so many hot takes about this SDFC team. I'm so excited to get into this.
Oh, you have hot takes? All right. Let me
do.
just say, this was one of the more enjoyable games. I know people would look at it on the surface and say, a 1-1 draw, really? Like, what was exciting about that? I thought it was really an exciting game. I really enjoyed it. Our buddy AJ Cassavell went to the game, and he's like, oh, dude, that was great. Like, love that. Like I will say, I have my notes right in front of me. This is a very, very beat-up SDFC squad. They were without their 3 preferred starting center backs. When you think about Andres Reyes, when you think about Patty McNair, and you think about Chris McVeigh, who missed his first minutes of 2025, who's been spectacular, and you have a back line which is all Gen Z. This is the Gen Z back line. A 19-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 22-year-old, and another 19-year-old at right back. You're without Anibal Godoy in the middle of the field, who is an absolute tone setter. Luca De La Torre is like playing on the most tired legs I think I've ever seen.
God,
you don't have anybody
gas.
playing up top. You don't have anybody playing in the middle right now. Yes, you have 2 designated players. You have 3 All-Stars, so it's not like this thing is completely just off the scrap heap. But I thought that was you're on your backup goalkeeper in Pablo Cisniega. I just thought that was a really gutty performance on Saturday night. And like, I think that's a really good point and a draw against Vancouver to remain on top of the Western Conference standings, John. For me, and I will back out of the way and get my fire extinguisher ready because I could see the smoke coming from your hot takes. But I just thought that was such an enjoyable, like such a gutty win. Yeah, of course you want 3 points. Nobody wants a draw. But in terms of them just trying to figure out a way to get a result, given the circumstances, I thought I actually really enjoyed that. And now the transfer window opens up on Thursday. Talked to Tyler Heaps. He said like 3-4 guys are coming through the door here. So I didn't get any names. I didn't get any insight. He did concede that there would be at least a midfielder, hopefully an attacking midfielder added into the mix. But I thought that was a really, really fun Saturday night. A good point. I don't know what's going on with these referees. And out of respect for Mikey,
God,
I will
awful.
say I'm not going to bitch about it all day and all night. But again, we get bit by the referees. I don't understand it. But I just thought that was a well-deserved point. And given the circumstances there, something that those guys could walk out of that building feeling pretty good about themselves.
I agree with everything you've said. None of my hot takes, really counteract the things that you've said there. I loved this game. This was like my favorite game of the season. Not that I thought it was the best or even the most exciting, but I loved this game so much because it felt like a peek into the future of what SDFC could be. And I don't mean like, oh, they're really good. They're in first place in the West and like, Chuki's playing well and Andrews. No, Manu Dua. Oh my God. Like in the first 10 minutes of the game, I'm like, why is the entire offense running through this 22-year-old, I think, rookie who's on 20-year-old rookie who's on the back line? He's supposed to be playing defense. He was running the offense like he was Yepe. And I was like, what is this? And then as the game went on, I was like, just let him run the offense. Just let him run the offense. Run everything through him. He is a freak of nature in all of the best ways. And the more that guy controls the game, it just felt like different than anything I've seen in MLS. I think you said this a couple weeks ago when I brought up how much I liked him when I saw him get on the ball. And you were like, it looks different with him. And like the whole team looks different with him out there. And you could tell he was getting more confident. He liked having the ball the longer the game went on. He was just making passes that no one else could even see. And playing outstanding defense. I think that's the first time I've seen, I'm not going to say a soccer player, definitely the first time I've seen a San Diego FC player make a big defensive stop, turn to the crowd and start screaming like, yeah, let's get up, let's go crazy. Ian Pilcher was fantastic. Pablo Cisniega was fantastic. He's 30, so he's not one of the young kids. All the young kids played outstanding, and it was a picture into like the future of the back line, and the present was still there with Chuki and Anders and Yepe and everything, and it was a good meshing of everything. But you could see a world in which it was like this whole team is eventually going to revolve around Mano Dua. And now I'm just like, all right, the closer we can get to that, I'm the more excited I'm going to get, because wow, did he look like a special player.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the MLS Super Draft to know how to compare it to other sports, right? Like in baseball, guys get drafted and then they disappear for a couple of years. And in football, you're expected to contribute right away. Cooper Flag, obviously, with the Mavericks. A lot's expected of him right away. I don't know enough about how this works in Major League Soccer, but we don't have an academy, so there's no place for him to go. You know what I mean? Like, he's got to be on the roster. And he's 20 years old. He just turned 20 years old 40 days ago. So, he's a baby. He was drafted as a teenager, number 1 overall. And I'm with you. It looks different out there. He's like 6'4". He glides across the field. And he played so well. And especially given that the own goal came off Manu Dua, and you think, oh man, what's going to happen here? Is he going to shrink now? Because, the first goal scored and the only goal scored by Vancouver officially went down as an own goal.
And it wasn't his fault at all. It wasn't like a mistake he made. It just bounced off his foot.
No, sometimes you see own goals where you're like, oh, is the guy trying to do that?
Right.
That was an amazing shot. This is just one where it got redirected off his back heel.
Yeah.
He passed the ball so well, John. I'm looking at some of the numbers. He had 89. He completed 89 of 91 passes.
I know.
He completed 97.8% of his passes, which was the best on the squad. That was the best of anybody. He had the second most touches on the squad behind Yeppe and Pilcher. So, and by the way, I didn't realize Ian Pilcher had 170 touches Wednesday night against Toronto. That's the most any players had in any match, I think.
Yeah.
Manu had 106. He played all 90 minutes. He was forward. He was dribbling into the middle of the field. He was finding other players. I'm with you. I thought he was sensational. And he's got a great story too. He's got a great story. Grew up in Ghana, academy player, right to dream, figured out a way to get a scholarship, came to the States, went to the University of California, Santa Barbara. So he's a gaucho, got drafted number 1 overall. More of a midfielder type in college at UCSB, but they've asked him to play a little bit of center back. But center back here is not center back in other clubs.
That's true.
Center back here is something that's a little bit more forward. Think about Christopher McVeigh. So you're not just back there defending all the time in the 6-yard box or in the 18-yard box. But I'm with you. I saw that the moment that you're talking about where he had this defensive play where he got beaten. He was a step behind. I want to say it was who was it? It's one of the fastest players in Major League Soccer, number 7 for Vancouver. And he had a stride on Dua, and Dua tracked him down and kicked it away, and then went to the supporter section with both arms. Is like, get up, yes, let's go. Like, he was so fired up. So like how could you not love that, seeing a number 1 overall draft pick? Like I said, I don't really know. Do number 1 overall picks, are they supposed to start right away in soccer? I don't know the answer to that. I really, really don't.
Me neither.
I tend to think it's probably conditional. There were 3 first-round picks, actually, between the 2 clubs on the field at the same time on Saturday night. But, that was the story. I mean, that really was the story. It was this back line. And, it was, like I said, these are all Gen Z players, John, and like they're being put in this position. We've come to expect it now from Bombino and from Verhoeven, who I thought was fantastic. Maybe his best game. And a great rebound game, because it wasn't great on Wednesday night. But those 2 center halves now, when you think about it, they were really, really good. And it really was. I'm with you. I'm glad that you saw the game that way, because I do think that was the story. I understand listen, you got to maybe get some better shots, be a little bit more threatening. Even the shots they took, were they great shots? Maybe not. But, just having those guys now, knowing at least that as you're seeing your depth tested, these guys passed the test against a really dangerous Vancouver team that came into Snapdragon Stadium looking for revenge after what it was that happened on June 25th.
And, I said this halfway through the first game before Olaski just blew the lid off it. But I was like, look, Vancouver, that's a good team. They're second place in the West. I think they were first place in the West when we were playing them the first time.
Yep.
I was like, that's a really good team, and they're showing you how good they are. And in this game, they were playing a lot of young people, a lot of injury replacements, all of that. I don't think Vancouver looked that good. I thought Vancouver was kind of overwhelmed by SDFC, and they ended up doing the thing that like Toronto was kind of doing, where they're like, we're just gonna sit in our back third and make sure that, you know, these crosses don't get through, and Chucky doesn't get a good look at it, and Anders always has two guys on him. Yep. And that really benefited Manodua and Ian Pilcher and Yeppe a little bit, that they could push up from the middle. But yeah, no, this was exciting. This was like watching early like Antonio Gates catching passes and going like, there's something really, really special here. Like, I'm really excited to see what the next 10 years are, because there's something very special here. And, you know, you and I have had a lot of conversations about Lionel Messi. You know, I'm not about to compare Lionel Messi to Manodua, but I remember telling you, or you telling me, like, when Messi has the ball, it just looks different. Mm-hmm. And when Manodua has the ball, it just looks different. And part of it is because he's so tall and he's so lanky and his legs are flying all over the place. But the other part is he's just doing stuff that no one else is doing on the field. And like some of those long balls that he was like, they were like line drives. He was like threading the needle between the midfield to try and get a ball to Chucky or Dreyer up front. I mean, I've never seen anyone do that. That was really cool.
Yeah, it was. It was really cool. Like I said, I know these guys walked out of there probably feeling a little bit dissatisfied. Anytime they don't pick up 3 points at home, I know the way these guys are, and they'll not say, "Well, listen, let's look at the circumstances here. We're without this and without that and without this." They'll never say that sort of stuff. But
and the refs, the refs are just.
I mean, can anybody explain what the fuck is going on here? I mean,
no.
I have to get this off my chest. So, you know, a foul is called. Thomas Angel's standing over the ball, ready to take the kick. It's a kick, and it's a shot that he can make because he did it against Club America. And he's standing there, and you're like, oh, okay, they're going to look at something here. And so we're looking at the monitor. We're like, oh, I see what they're looking at. They're looking at a handball inside of the box, and that's a clear as day handball. That should be a penalty. Adrian and I were 100% convinced that this is going to be a handball.
I know.
So we wait like 5 minutes. The ref finally goes over. He looks at the monitor. And then he comes back. He's like, drop ball. And we're like, wait, what? So, all right, fine. If you want to tell me that there's no conclusive video that shows that this ball was a handball inside of the box, listen, I'll go, okay, whatever. Let's move on. But it's still going to be a free kick in a dangerous area.
Yeah,
but
you called the foul.
Yeah, you called the foul. How do you go back and re-referee that and say, like, there's not even a foul called on that play? I don't understand that one at all. So I don't know if the television broadcasters had any insight into that. I haven't heard anything. I'll sniff around a little bit tomorrow. I think we're going out to training. But, like, what's the deal? Like, how do you just say, like, yeah, that foul that we called, which is totally judgment, yeah, that we're not even going to call that foul. Like, this is the second consecutive time now where it's like handball in the box seems pretty clear, and SDFC ends up on the short side of the referee whistle. I don't get it. What's happening here?
Yeah, when they first went to replay, I think Adrian was like, "Oh, they're trying to figure out whether or not the foul happened inside the box, because it happened like right on the edge of the box." And I was like, "Okay, that makes sense." And then you were like, "Oh no, they're looking at a handball. That's a handball." And then it was kind of like, okay, well, they're either going to get the handball or they're going to get the shot from right here at the edge of the box. And they got nothing. And they lost the ball. And they didn't explain anything. And it was madness. And it's like the third game in a row where it's like there's some weird thing where like a referee doesn't want to look at VAR. They look at it and they see something different than what everyone else sees. I don't know. Like I went into Discord after they called it drop ball, and I just wrote, what the fuck's going on? Like this is now a trend, and it's a trend that doesn't make any sense, that is going unexplained, and it's driving me crazy.
It's called home cooking. I mean, like it's supposed to benefit the home side. That's us, by the way. That's SDFC.
Yeah.
So I don't know why this isn't happening. It's just, like I said, it doesn't make any sense. I actually tried to set Yeppe up. He was at the podium on Friday. I tried to set him up. I was like, hey, there's a guy got called for a handball way back against Real Salt Lake. I'm still on that. I was like, were you satisfied with the explanation that you got? He's just like, what are you going to do? They all take their cues from Mikey. Mikey kills them with kindness. He's like, referees, they have a tough job. I know, they do. And it's easier to do it from the booth, and it's much easier to do it on Discord. But, I mean, can somebody at least explain this? Like you went back and what? Did they call a foul on Chucky? Like, did Chucky pick up a foul there? Like, you can't just go back and like re-referee the game when I don't know, it just doesn't make any sense.
And for anyone who's like, oh, it's a 1-1 game, it couldn't have possibly been that exciting. Like, you're discounting the fact that like goalkeepers exist, because Cisniega made like 5 outstanding saves, and what's he like, a Takaoda? Is that his name? He also made like four or 5 outstanding saves.
Yeah.
And
He's
you know,
really
Cisniega coming out and like grabbing the ball when he knows that the attacking player is gonna like smash into him. Like, there's so many just exciting, like brave, spectacular athletic moments from these two keepers. That's how you get a really, really exciting 1-1 game.
Yeah, and Takaoka's he's an all-star. I mean, he's a really, really good goalkeeper. Good. He leads Major League Soccer in clean sheets. So he's on his way to the All-Star game, just like Chucky and Anders and Yepe. By the way, I mean, talk about weird scheduling. All-Star game's going to be Wednesday, and the first ever Friday night game for SDFC is, of course, this week at home against Nashville. So these guys got to get from Nashville on Wednesday somehow back.
No, Austin on Wednesday.
I'm sorry, yeah. Austin. From Austin back to San Diego to play on Friday. It's like, God, even when you're being rewarded, not what we need, MLS. Not what we need.
I wrote in the recap that I was like, yeah, these guys are going to go to the MLS All-Star game on Wednesday. And I was like, in theory, they can play the Friday night game. Like, I don't know how taxed they're going to be. I don't know if Mikey's looking at that as like, those guys can give me 30 minutes, but not 90. Like,
right.
It's definitely a factor. And
it is. And listen, like, I think Javier Mascherano, who's the head coach at Miami, I think he made a good point. He's like, I don't want Messi playing in this game. He's like, why do I want this guy playing in this game? I got Leagues Cup around the corner. I still have the rest of the regular season to go with 10 matches. I think it is 10 to go. So, like, we got a lot of soccer ahead of us. Like, I don't want him playing in this silly exhibition on Wednesday night. So, I don't know if Messi's going to play or not. But, if it was up to the head coach of Inter Miami, he would not play. All right. So, real quick, John, just because we didn't get a chance to chat, after we wrapped up on Friday, the news broke in San Diego about NASCAR. Do you have a quick thought on the track? I sent it to Sean Kelly. He responded, and I'd love to get Sean back on, the virtual stat man. He's like, you've got to be kidding me. I don't know if he felt like it wasn't a good idea to have it go up and down the Silver Strand, but
wait, is there an actual track, or are you just going off the one that I like sent you that I made up on Google Maps?
Oh, that's not a real map?
No, because I was trying to figure out
I thought you saw that somewhere.
No. So I saw someone this morning do the same thing I did with a different one, which is basically like the bike loop. And I'm like, I don't think they're driving the cars over the Coronado Bridge, and I don't think they're ferrying them across either. So I was trying to think if it started at the Navy amphibious base in Coronado, I was like, where could it go? And then I started like looking, okay, well, it could go up and kind of by the Hotel del Coronado, so you got the TV shot, and then back down around. But like, even where they would in theory turn around, it's like an 8-mile loop. And it's like these road courses, even the oval courses, but like the road courses are supposed to like simulate the length of an oval loop. It's just a different shape. They're usually like 2 miles or less. So I have no idea how they're going to do this. I have yet to see a map that makes any sort of sense, but I, along with several other people, have taken to Google Maps and gotten a pen out and tried to guess as to what it could possibly look like. But it's going to be chaos, and I don't understand how they're going to set up for it at all. I do like the idea that they're going nowhere near like Petco Park, downtown, the airport. They could stay away from that and just keep it as like a Coronado Silver Strand thing. I just don't know how it's going to work. I don't even know.
I don't know either. Yeah, I don't know what that's going to look like. Oh, well, forgive me. I've shared that with about 1,000 people. I was like, oh wow, look at the
the one I sent to the group chat was after we figured out where it was starting from. I was like, where could it possibly? Okay, up by Hotel Del and then back down around. Okay, that makes some sense, but it's still like way too long. So I have no idea.
Right. Well, I mean, it is going to be an amazing visual if it's going to go up and down the Silver Strand, right? How much is confirmed? That it's going to be on the Silver Strand.
All that's confirmed is that it's taking place on Coronado, and it's starting at the Naval Amphibious Base, which is a couple blocks away from Hotel Del.
Okay, I mean that will be an amazing television visual,
right?
To have the ocean on one side and San Diego Bay on the other side, and people will be out there with their boats. So that's going to be. There's an RV park there. That place is going to be jamming. I mean that thing is, those people look like NASCAR types anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure they are.
I'm sure they are. So, that'll be an amazing visual. So yeah, I'm curious too. I thought what you sent me was from a report, but
Nope.
like you said, where else can it possibly go? And I mean, I could ride my bike there real quick. Maybe we'll rent our house out. Make me an offer, everybody. Make us an offer. We'll get out of town for a couple of weeks. We can have some gearheads hanging out at the beach house in IB. We're not too far away. But I mean, I could be persuaded into being a spectator for this event.
I think it's going to be, here's the thing. I think it's going to look different than any NASCAR event that you've ever seen before, which is why I'm interested in it, right? Like beachside NASCAR down the Strand, like, I don't know, man. Sign me up for that. As we have discussed, I think when I was in Florida at Daytona Beach, like NASCAR started as races on the beach, like races on the sand. That's why for anyone who has a child and has watched Cars or Cars 3, even more so, they go back to all the old beaches and like learn how to race on the beaches, going like, this is how they used to do it. Like it started as a beach race company. So no, I'm excited to see what it could possibly be. It just, the information we've been given feels like it's missing giant puzzle pieces. I think the articles that have kind of confirmed that this is happening have said that there's going to be some sort of press release on Wednesday between the city and NASCAR. And I imagine at that point, they're going to have to give out some sort of information about what the track is going to look like, but maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe. Well, I would think so. I mean, I don't think NASCAR is just going to be like, yeah, we're just going to agree to do this, but we don't really have any concept for how it's going to work. Yeah. But this also would be a great time for us to point out that if any of the subscribers and supporters of Section 1904 have a boat, John and I would love to podcast from your boat.
We would. Well, we will comp your subscription for a full year. We just want to watch this race from your boat.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that's probably the move, is to be out there on a boat for this race. So we'll be excited to accept your invitation, assuming that it ever comes. Hit us up on the Discord channel. Hey, can I give a quick shout out to the great artist Chicle, South Bay artist Chicle?
Please.
I went to training SDFC practice on Friday, and I was wearing one of his shirts. And Mikey Vadas looked at the shirt during the media sessions, like, "Where'd you get that shirt?" And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Hey, I want one of those shirts. Send me the link." So,
he's worn a Chicle shirt. Didn't he wear one on the sidelines?
I told him that. I said he was the creator of some of the merch of the match a couple of weeks ago. And he's like, "Yeah, I can dig that." And he's like, "I want that shirt." And I was like, "All right." So shout out to Chicle. If you haven't seen this shirt, go check it out online. It's just another banger from him. Banger after banger after banger. But
can you imagine Mike Schilt?
No.
Just, hey, cool shirt. Where'd you get it? Send me the link. I want to buy it.
No, absolutely not. That's not a Shilty move, but that is a Mikey move. So I'm also reminding myself that I have to hit up Chicle and get the shirt. So I was like, I got you, coach. I got you. I'll take care of you. So
sure.
I'll have to square that away by tomorrow. All right. Again, apologies later than normal. Just kind of been a chaotic couple of days. So we'll be better tomorrow. Thank you all for your support. Thank you very much. If you enjoyed this podcast at all, we do this 5 days a week at least. We do have guests lined up for this week that we had to move back from last week due to circumstances. So it's going to be a very interesting week for us. We're closer and closer, like you said, to trade deadlines and transfer windows opening up. So not only do we have the games, but we also have some of the activity that runs adjacent to these sports that we love talking about. So enjoy the rest of your Monday, everybody. Thank you for your support, and feel free to check us out, section1904.com. You can subscribe there, all sorts of information. We appreciate it, and we can't do it without you. For John, I'm Darren. We'll talk to you when we talk to you.